Hi, Ray Descalso here. Thank you so much for tuning in. As you may well know, I'm a financial planner. I help my clients have successful retirements, but probably not exactly in the way that you're thinking. You know, if you're planning for retirement, it's real simple, real easy, if you will, to get overwhelmed. And if you feel overwhelmed, don't worry, you're not alone. My job is to simplify things and also help you watch out for major pitfalls. Now, some of those major pitfalls that you're probably thinking about are things like taxes in retirement, longevity risk, volatility, all important, and those are things we cover. But we also talk about things that perhaps you may not have heard of before. You see, financial planning is a process not just of the math of investing and the math of retirement income streams, but it is also a psychological battle, and it is also about co-creating a financial plan. You know, one thing I wanted to say is I don't create financial plans, I co-create financial plans. So we do things a little differently here. Today what I want to talk to you about is the 3 deadly sins of retirement. Yes, I know, you're intrigued, aren't you? So what are those 3 deadly sins? Let's get down to the point. Deadly sin number 1 is the sin of gluttony. Yes, of course, gluttony is a deadly sin, and it's even more so a deadly sin in retirement. Now, when I say gluttony in retirement, what do I mean? What I really mean is consumerism. Chasing after the Joneses, even in retirement. You see, what ends up happening oftentimes is we think that in retirement, when we are settling into a fixed income, a planned income, that we are going to be able to just control ourselves and expect less from life. That's not what I see. What I see is that folks oftentimes go full throttle, 100 miles an hour, taking cruises, enjoying life, buying too much house, overextending themselves. And that's why financial planning is so important, because it doesn't matter how much money you've got in the bank. It doesn't matter how much income stream you've got coming in from Social Security and pension and from your financial plan. You can spend every last dime. The key to a successful retirement, a less stressful retirement, is getting a plan where you talk about the pitfalls of gluttony, the pitfalls of consumerism. You can have your cake, you can eat it too, but not too much cake, you see. Temperance in all things, right? Well, that's how it is in retirement. And all we have to do is sit down and have that conversation and make those decisions ahead of time so that we have our spending planned out. We're not trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're getting out of the rat race and into a retirement that's fulfilling and fun, but also free from waste. And that's key. And that's the problem with one of the deadly sins, which is gluttony. Deadly sin number 2. So deadly sin number 2 is kindness. I know, that seems like a trick, right? You were told by your parents, your pastor, your priest, your rabbi, hey, it is good to be kind. It is. It's really good to be kind. But let me tell you a story. I have some friends from church. They're not clients as of the moment, but they're friends from church. And I got a phone call from my friend. We'll call her Susie. And Susie said to me, she says, hey, Ray, I'm driving home. And she called me on my cell because I've known her. She goes to my church. Her son was in my youth group, and now he's got kids of his own. Long story short, she said, listen, something big has happened. We sold the business, and we're looking to have for them, a windfall situation. But what we want to do is we want to come in and we want to sit down and talk with you because, you know, we've never invested for retirement. Everything was about the business. Everything was about taking care of our employees and taking care of our kids. And now here we are with the most money we've ever had. Windfall situation. And she said, here's the problem that I've got. My husband is a giver. Love him to death. He's one of the best people on the planet. And I would agree with her because I know the guy and he is an awesome, awesome guy. Well, the problem is as soon as the numbers were bandied about, and they sat down at the table, and they walked away from the table having closed the deal, the first thing he wanted to talk about was buying the kids new cars. He's got 3 kids. He wanted to pay off the rest of their mortgages and help the grandkids out with school, at college. All of those things are fantastic things to do. The problem with kindness, the problem with really any kind of emotion, is when you see yourself in a situation entering into retirement, kindness, taking care of your family before yourself, taking care of your charities before yourself, can be deadly. And it's not a character flaw. It's not even an intellectual flaw. It's where the emotions of the moment, the emotions of plenty, kind of blind us to the math. You see, the problem that I have, and this is what I told Susie, is we don't know our expiration date. None of us know exactly what it's going to be like in 10, 20, 30, 40 years of retirement. Will we have enough money? And the idea of giving your inheritance early is not really going to be the best. At least in Susie's conversation, that was her thought process, and I would concur with her. So I would say to you, if you're in retirement, curb your kindness. Now, I understand that that's probably the opposite of what you've heard. But again, in co-creating your financial plan, having those conversations, and this is really great for couples because oftentimes the financial planner can be a tiebreaker where we can say, hey, let's get the math straight. Let's figure out some of the statistics, if you will, about longevity risk, about healthcare. You know, in retirement, we just talked about consumerism and gluttony. In retirement, you spend a ton of money up front when you are looking to invest, when you're looking to spend your money and have that fun and go on those Viking cruises down the whatever rivers in France. But then you also have at the back end, like a barbell, the back end of your retirement, you have healthcare expenses. And so on both of those ends, whether it be gluttony or whether it be kindness, those are some deadly sins. Because for kindness, if you give your money away and throughout your retirement, we don't know what those last 3, 4, 5 years, we don't know when they're going to be, and we don't know what they're going to look like. So, curb your kindness. And again, that goes back to co-creating a financial plan, having another disinterested party in the room to help walk you through some of these deadly sins. The first one, as you'll recall, was gluttony. And then, of course, too, the second one is kindness. I know kindness is typically not a sin, but in retirement, it is. So gluttony, kindness, and then finally, the last deadly sin would be gullibility. Gullibility. What is gullibility? Well, you know, if you are a kind person, if you're a good person, if you've always treated people fairly throughout your life, then it's very easy for you to think that everybody else is exactly the same. And what we're finding time and time again, unfortunately, is that people are being taken advantage of, and it's a serious thing. Every now and then I'll get a referral from an existing client, or someone will call in and say, here is what I am seeing happen to my neighbor. Or they'll call in and say, I think this may not be legit. So there's scammers that are out there in retirement. They prey on retirees. They know that retirees are sitting on the most money that they'll ever have. And they also know that because they're not working, they'll take the phone call, they'll send the email back. And so whether it's a cybersecurity kind of threat like the typical Nigerian money scams, it can be lottery winnings from a country far, far away. Whenever somebody says that I will give you this, but first you have to give me a bank account number, a password, I'm so sorry that this exists. It is such a disappointment that these people out there, wherever they're from, would take all of their brilliant energy and put it into scamming us out of our passwords, out of our bank account numbers, and all of these strange things. I'm sorry, but they exist. And so having, again, a third person to talk to your family, by the way, and let them know, listen, this is what I've heard, this is the deal, this is the commercial on TV. We hear too often about these situations where people are being taken advantage of, and we don't want that to happen to you. So have a third person that you can talk to, whether it's a family member, whether it's your financial planner, saying, hey, I got this letter in the mail, I got this phone call from the IRS saying that the cops are after me. I get that phone call about 3 times a month, and so far, knock on wood, so good. Sorry about shaking the phone. So those are the 3 deadly sins. All right, consider gluttony, consider kindness, and consider gullibility, deadly sins in retirement. And consider the cure, having someone you can talk to, whether it's a friend or a family member, or I would recommend a financial planner, someone you can run an idea by. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and end it now because I got some folks I need to call back to help them out as well. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.